with the clickbait. This is what we're gonna look at. This is just a bunch of stuff I put together yesterday and this morning. Technology is the answer. What was the question? Now that's a quote by Cedric Price. I don't know if you guys know who Cedric Price is, but we're gonna talk about Cedric Price today. And then I think we should also look at, last time we looked at the Eames house quite a bit, and grads missed that. So there's a recording of that. Oh, we looked at this, and I was going through, I was like, these are definitely not Julius Shulman photographs, because Julius Shulman photographs are corrected with the perspective to become 2-point perspectives. And he was doing that manually. He was taking the photo that way, and he was darkening the corners manually. So yeah, these might be Julius Shulman photographs. And then, so there was some confusion about whether it's single pane glass or double pane glass. People are saying it's single pane. People that are familiar with the house are saying it's single pane. And it looks like it does have a heating system, maybe a cooling system, I don't know, but I think it's radiant heating from inside of the floor, which, huh?
And talking to myself.
Okay, so it's heating the space through radiation, so it's like coming directly to your body. So it's likely not going to be a traditional way like it is here, where the air would leak out, because it's heating the space using a different method, which is rarely used, but it's very efficient. So it's using, I think, radiant heating and cooling. Anyways, and is there a shortcut to success? Yes, it's called taking the long way. You know, like there's no shortcut. Like knowing Revit doesn't make your life easier. Like you still gotta analyze the Eames house. You still have to do everything that you have to do for a project. It's just a different tool. I mean, I would argue in some ways, and I know I've been saying that, and I was inspired by Will last time showing his construction documentation sets. So I brought some of mine, and I'm going to show those too. And see, I feel like in some ways maybe doing it in Rhino is actually easier. I don't know. But yeah, so I want to look at all that. So technology is the answer. What was the question? Revit is the answer. What was the question? I don't know. But okay, so wait, am I recording? Yeah.
Oh shoot, can you add me to?
Oh yeah, my bad. Call people. Strickland. Oh, by the way, I was also thinking about what you guys were asking Will last time about downloading Revit information, like downloading furnishings and trying to edit them. Some of them, I mean, they're modeled by other people. They're all modeled by other people and put up. Maybe someone modeled it in Rhino and exported it as an STL, and you can't edit it in Revit. Maybe they don't have parameters a lot of the time. So again, there's no shortcut. Just because you download an object, it doesn't mean that you can do everything that's possible to do with that object in a split second just because you're using Revit. You can't, because, I mean, even if, like, the manufacturer doesn't want you to be able to do everything with it, because they want you to download the dimensions that they're able to manufacture. They don't want you to be able to customize it 100%. So at the end of the day, you still have to model everything manually. Again, it's like we're Boramini in the whatever year he was in. We're still sculpting the stuff by hand, even though we have the digital tools. And then I feel like some people might be a little bit, I don't know if resentful is the right word, but like, your major is absorbed by the school of architecture, right? It's like I don't know if you guys feel like, oh, architects are always telling us how to do interiors. I mean, I don't like this particular school, but it makes sense. Our professions have a tremendous bond. I mean, and I'll try to like weave that into this. And like sculpture is a very different profession, but the way sculpture becomes radical is by coming into our territory. So these are historical sculptures. Sculptures were always placed on a plinth. Sculptures were separated from ground. We have to deal with ground as interior designers and as architects. Like, we can't say, okay, there's no ground, I'm going to do an art piece. No, there's always a ground. There's always a datum plane. And the way sculpture became radical was by getting off the plinth and using the datum plane. So sculpture is really entering our territory, and they're creating these visceral effects where people are feeling things, which maybe we should be doing. Okay, so back to Cedric Price. I mean, and then maybe you guys are angry or something sometimes because we're always showing you work by architects. But today I'm going to show you guys work by an anti-architect. And not just any anti-architect, anti-architect number one, Cedric Price. The picture was blurry. I couldn't find a high resolution one, so I just wrote the text that was mattered. But self-proclaimed anti-architect number one, Cedric Price. He designed the Fun Palace, which was a university. By the way, I think everyone at some point is frustrated with the university system because even in the, like, man, this is really funny. And the building code, even, and the international building code, probably in the California building code too, a university is not under educational. K-12 is under, right? Isn't that crazy? And it makes so much sense. University is a business. It's under B, occupancy group. It's a university is a business, guys. But like, it's up to me to provide value and us to provide value. And I feel like that's like really like that's all we're trying to do. Like that's the only thing I'm trying to do. Like it's just like, man. Okay, so Cedric Price imagined his own university. He called it a fun palace because maybe education only happens when you're excited about what you're learning. Cedric Price was the king of the dotted line. Always dotted lines. Why the dotted line? Maybe because he's an anti-architect. Architects are always drawing lines. So maybe through drawing dotted lines, you're implying an erasure of the building, and maybe that's, I don't know. Man, everything's dotted. Oh, by the way, a lot of people don't have line weights. A lot of people, I mean, Revit automatically gives you a few line weights, but people who are undergrads who are not using Revit, I've seen drawings without line weights, and that scares me. Like I'm really worried about like showing up on the 13th and not seeing drawings without line weights. Like that's crazy. There's really no excuse for that. Like even if you have to lock everything in Illustrator and draw lines on top of the other thin lines where it's thicker, like whatever's being cut is thicker. Like your wall is thicker than the furnishing which you're seeing below. I mean, yes.
And when you go over the lines, but what are the exact numbers you want?
I don't know what the exact numbers are. Right? I mean, that's up to you. Like again, your project is, oh, I'm glad you reminded me about this. Almost every class, if you're in some type of design school, you're creating a project. Like, where does that word come from? It comes from project. It's what you project into the world. It's your project. What do you want to like it's I can't give you every single checkbox. You gotta mess with the line weights and see where it reads the best. Oh, and how things read, how our drawings read is super important. And that's another thing. Like sometimes I tell you guys, I've told the grads a number of times, like, hey, don't think decoration. What you're doing is decorative thing. Think design. And like I'm kind of being I don't know what I'm being, but when I say that, like there's a comeback because I mean you can have something that's just a surface that's applied that actually transcends the realm of decoration if it changes the way the space reads, right? You could argue, oh, it's not decoration, even though it doesn't have protrusions or like storage or affect the human being directly. It could affect the way the human being reads the space that the human being is occupying. More dotted lines. Lebbeus Woods. I mean, he called himself an architect. He never studied architecture. He never got licensed as an architect. He studied, he went to like Purdue University and got some engineering degree, but like which I mean, legally he shouldn't be doing that, but he did, and everyone's cool with it. Like everyone's cool with it because his drawings are incredible. And I don't know of any interior designer who's bringing this type of rigor to the profession. So that's an opportunity for you guys. Like anytime we're meeting with other faculty and we're trying to like find other images to show you guys. If they're rigorous drawing exercises, I mean, maybe you could argue we're not looking hard enough, but I mean, you guys are welcome to look too and send them our way. But yeah, the rigor of drawing is really important, and your degree is not a ticket to anything, ever. Your work ethic is, and that's really the only thing that matters. But then, are you ready to deal with tall poppy syndrome? If you guys are familiar with tall poppy syndrome, is a cultural phenomenon in which people hold back, criticize, or sabotage those who have or are believed to have achieved notable success in one or more aspects of life. So yeah, tall poppy syndrome is a real thing. The Japanese have a saying, the nail that sticks out gets hammered down. And maybe that's true. So, I mean, maybe you don't want to bring an insane amount of rigor where you're revolutionizing everything because you don't want to get hammered down by your peers. But maybe it's worth it. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's worth it. So the Eames space, and then there's been a lot of talk lately at this school about pattern language. Like this is a thing that was big at one point, but then now people start looking at it like it's lame. But then some of us are kind of interested in pattern language again. These are drawings by someone named Nikos Salingaros, who was inspired by pattern language. And what's being portrayed here, so on the top right, it's showing a globalized, localized, centralized spatial organization strategy. I mean, this one right here, the second to the right. And then the one on the very right is showing, oh no, wait, sorry. This is showing globalized. This is showing centralized and localized. And I would want to occupy this one. I would want to occupy the one where I have options about how I want to use the space. I don't want one circulation path with one circle of nodes. I mean, studies show people are happier where they have more options. And even if it's just being able to move the piece of furniture you're sitting in slightly, if it's not fully built in, like even that, people tend to move the furniture slightly before they sit in the furniture. Pattern language, form language, that's, I'm not going to talk about. No, why not? So the way Christopher Alexander and Nico Salingaros break it down, the pattern language is the pattern, which comes before the floor plan. The form language is the actual floor plan where you're giving form and thicknesses to things and having a habitable space. But the pattern language can be overlaid with the form language if you have a good pattern language. And then my file structure, my computer didn't always used to look like this. When I was a student, my computer, I took a photo. I had my student laptop at home this morning. I took a photo of it and I was trying to email it to myself. It didn't come through in time, but my desktop from my student computer is just full of files. I just used to save everything to and I would always have trouble finding my files. Like even in like high school, middle school, elementary school, I used to just throw papers in my backpack and I'd always have trouble finding them. In the last couple of years, I've gotten better about all of that. So this is my first solo project. I did this when I was working at a firm I was working on this nights and weekends. So And the way we describe our projects as architects and interior designers is very similar. We use descriptive geometry. We use plans, sections, elevations, axonometrics, perspectives, and we communicate that to a contractor. And we have a similar method of working. By the way, I drew these all. I just drew these all in Rhino, and here's the actual screenshot from Rhino. I drew everything at full scale. So this building is 30 feet tall, and I just scaled up my 24 by 36 to however many 100 feet it came out to, and then Rhino even has Rhino sheets, but I'm just so low tech about it. Like, I might as well be drawing this by hand, because at some point I realized that personally, I didn't want to go super deep into software because, well, first of all, every firm I worked at had a slightly different way of doing things, and that really threw me off. Like one place was, or two places were very Rhino heavy, but that's like such a small number of firms. Like, it's just like Neil Denari and Morphosis, like who are doing this kind of work, a lot of their work in Rhino. But like that's not the norm. But those are the firms that I look up to. So this is the set that goes to the city and the contractor. This is what it looks like in Rhino. But I don't want to show this to other I don't want to show this to other designers. This is strictly for city and clients. This is what I want to show other designers. I do hybrid drawings. After the fact, I project them all off of each other and try to have a composed board that conveys my design idea. And this is what lives in my portfolio and on my website. Like, this is the image that I use. Like, these are great, but these don't represent the way the thinking that went behind the project, really. These are documents to build off of. Man, and I was going crazy at the time. I was building models. I went crazy with the design. Like, I spent so much time at the design, like on a design, like at the firm I was working at, I would have my computer when I was there, and I'd be working on the computer, but I had my phone on my lap, and I had my rendering of the front elevation, and I would, like, every hour I would look down and be like, man, it's not good enough, and I would look back up and I'd keep working, and then I just kept changing and refining and altering, and I ended up with I mean, at the time I wasn't looking at the Eames house, but actually very similar. It's just a relentless grid that goes through the entire space. And you could see it from top to bottom, everything aligns. And I just kept messing with it until it worked out that way. Like, in these spaces too, like this column, and the structure line, like, I'm not designing I'm not sizing the columns and beams. The structural engineer is doing that. But the structural engineer saw, like, how insanely passionate I was about what I was doing, and he was like, hey, where do you want the column? You know, like, we just sat down and I was like, and you know, like, everything had to align. So then I did another one. What's going on back there?
Just asking.
What's the question?
About the other
class. Can you guys do that at 11:30?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so then at this point, I wasn't working at another firm. I was doing my own thing, and other clients were starting to come. Oh man, I was trying to cover up the information on the title block, but sometimes it's. And again, I did it in Rhino at full scale, and I just scaled up my sheets to be the size of I mean, to be the full scale, like these were at, I think, I don't remember what scale they were at. Anyways, even the 8.5 by 11 site plan that building and safety wants, like, I just did everything in Rhino in one file. And I don't know anyone who does things quite like that. It just kind of made sense for me. Oh, and then this ended up upside down. And that's what happens when you put things together last minute. And then another rule of thumb is everything takes three times longer than you think it's going to take. Right? That's like, man, even still, even after having, you know what? I used to say I have 15 years of work experience. I'm just gonna say I have 40 years of work experience, because in work hours, like a typical work year is 2,000 hours. Like in work time, I have 40 years of experience. Like so, and that's just numbers. And man, fuck, and not to brag about, or that's not even that it's a good thing. It's a stupid thing. Like why should I be looking at this 24/7? Um, I did a bathroom edition like this. Didn't touch the exterior shell at all. This doesn't really fit in with my body of work. It was just a project that came in and I took it. And again, in my set, I'm trying to have fun with this. I'm projecting the sections off of the plan of what I'm adding. So even though the project doesn't really fit in with my body of work, the way I draw it can. So there's always a way, oh, I'm bringing this project to make money, and then that project is the one that really I'm caring about design. No, there's always a way to incorporate good design. You just have to find it. Competition entry. And just more projects doing the same thing. There's one project I didn't have the time to put it on here. My last project I'm doing in Revit. But I mean, I might at some point give up and go back to it, but I hope not, man. I should just do it. Anyways, that's all.